Half in the bag. Get this shit off my cabinet.
Hello and welcome to Half in the Bag. I'm Jay.
And I'm Mike.
And we just saw Terminator, Tales from Genisys Space.
That's right, Jay.
The 1984 John sent you to it no longer exists.
No, this is all wrong, right? John sent me here to save you.
From the Terminator that was sent back to kill me,
Terminator, The Age of Ultron will only be in theaters for about a week. So see it while you can. That is before Joe Dirt 2 knocks it out of its 9th place in the box office.
Joe Dirt 2 isn't even being released in theaters. It's a Netflix movie.
Terminator fans, rejoice. Arnold is back in the iconic role that made him famous, the Terminator. Oh wait, I guess he was also back in Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. So he's back, again. Wow, he really meant it when he said, "I'll be getting divorced for fucking my elderly Puerto Rican cleaning lady." In this new film, Arnold plays old Terminator, who was sent back in time to protect a 9-year-old Sarah Connor for some reason. But not before the other Terminator was sent back in time. But not before Kyle Reese, a Chinese T-1000, and a dog named Einstein were also sent back in time. In this alternate timeline, Sarah Connor, played by someone terrible, is driving around with guns her whole life, waiting for action scenes to happen. Then Kyle Reese shows up, and together everyone pointlessly shoots guns at a guy who's made of some kind of digital metal or something. Jay, what did you think of The Terminator, Age of Ultron?
Oh man, as far as franchise reboots that are completely driven by nostalgia and recreating scenes we've seen in previous movies, Jurassic World's looking so much better right now.
So I'm in a dark theater, movie starts, and I start to see things I recognize.
This movie is terrible. It's watchable. It's not like I wasn't like angry in the theater. I was just sort of baffled and laughing a lot at how the key word for this movie is convoluted. We'll probably say it a million times in this discussion.
Needlessly convoluted.
Needlessly convoluted. That's good, yeah.
I have the same feelings on it. I didn't hate it. It was watchable. Really impressive visual effects.
Sometimes.
Almost all the time. I mean, the digital Arnold looked great for a digital Arnold.
It suffers from what whenever they try and do that, there's that uncanny valley effect where you're like, something's not right.
Sure, but it was 98% there for me. 95%.
I noticed there was like the recreation of the first movie where he stands up and then there's like a tighter shot of his face. That really tight shot of his face looked great. Mm-hmm. Whenever he talked, it looked weird, but when he was just standing there silently, like that looked really good.
I look at each of you, and I see the marks of this long and terrible war. We fight! Go!
The opening and almost the first act I really liked. When they recreated, they showed Judgment Day happening, and they showed some of the battle stuff, and then the whole lead up to we found where the time machine is, and kind of the whole Kyle Reese backstory, which we never got to see. We get to see, finally done. I think it's around the time Arnold shows up that the movie goes off the rails.
Which Arnold?
The real elderly Arnold.
Old Arnold, okay.
Well, middle-aged Arnold, because they go to 1984 first, and I think they did some kind of digitalness on his face. They opened up a computer and they scooped out computer stuff and smeared it on his face because he looked noticeably younger.
I did not kill him.
And in the 1984 timeline, I was like, oh, Arnold doesn't look that bad. And I think they did what they did to Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen in the third X-Men, where I
didn't notice that.
They smear computer stuff all over their face. I noticed it. I was like, he looks good. And then it was like, oh, that's the real Arnold.
They smear Vaseline on the computers?
Yeah. They come in and manually Q-tip Vaseline on everyone's eyeballs in every theater.
Okay.
Just squint. He doesn't look that old. The Vaseline's burning my eyes.
Your clothes, give them to me, now.
You won't be needing any clothes. Been waiting for you.
It felt like a Terminator fan film. Like, now a T-1000 shows up, and he's in 1984 part. He's in the department store with Kyle Reese, and he has to fight the T-1000, and it felt like a fan film. And I was like, okay, you know, if you like Terminator things, you're gonna enjoy this from like a completely mindless, like Batman versus Predator kind of way, where there's no real stakes or plot or anything like that, or no emotional investment. It's just like, isn't it neat to see Batman fight the Predator?
And this T-1000 is also dressed as a cop because reference.
Come with me if you want to live. Now, soldier!
I'll be back.
What?
And I start to see things I recognize.
What?
Well, we're going to say spoilers now, but you should know that you have already had the movie spoiled if you've seen the trailer.
Yes.
So it's
The
not
entire
really-
movie.
Yeah, and spoilers will actually be helpful because we're going to try and break down the plot. So if you have not seen the movie, watch this whole review. You might enjoy the movie more by listening to us try and make sense of it, because then you'll have some, like, it's like studying for a test almost.
Oh, sure. It's like, this is like the Cliff Notes version of the film where it's like, oh, okay, now I understand
Yeah.
Romeo and Juliet.
That's what's happening.
Yeah, yeah. So, Mike, do you want to try and break this down best of the worst style, where we just kind of go through the movie? Because this entire movie is just a nonstop barrage of what?
What?
But Jay, on Best of the Worst, we only watch terrible movies. Let's start at the beginning. The Terminator, 1984. James Cameron's original film.
Yes.
The nostalgic and quaint, very simple tale.
It's such a simple, streamlined, great story. It's a very simple causality loop.
But then, and really the whole backstory of Skynet and robots coming to life and taking over the planet is just a framework to hang this little action movie on. Yeah. But now that's become its own mythos and logic of 4 other movies?
We've had 5 Terminator movies, and 4 of them have had the exact same story.
Yeah, the second one, it's like, the second one was really good, but once they said, oh, also, which I love the T-1000, once they said, oh, also there's a new Terminator who's coming back in time, his name's the T-1000, that's when it's like, it's starting to fall over the line, but there's this overall theme of, which is, I think, is irritating. It's starting to remind me of the Matrix movies now. There's this overall theme of Sky. No matter what you do, Skynet will happen. Judgment Day will happen.
Yes.
Like, it's just inevitable, and it's almost like becoming like a chore and pointless. When you look at this movie, it really feels like a bunch of people in a writer's room, going, "What can we do to save this franchise? What can we do to make this work?" So to put an elderly Arnold Schwarzenegger in this movie, they came up with a hackneyed reason why he's there.
At some point in the future, in some timeline, a liquid Terminator was sent back to when Sarah Connor was 9, and Arnold was sent back to protect her from the liquid Terminator, because that's what always happens every time. And since then, Arnold raised her. And we wondered, who sent Arnold back?
And the state of California was okay with this, this whole adopted parent.
Sure, yeah, why not? Oh, she even calls him Pops. But I was thinking, like, okay, who sent him back? And Kyle Reese is wondering the same thing. And Arnold just goes, that's classified.
That's it.
And the rest of the movie, I was thinking, okay, well, we're going to come back to this. We're going to learn. We never learn.
I hope you forget by then.
They hope you just forget. It's basically the lazy writer's way of getting out of explaining why anything in this movie is happening. My guess is they have no fucking clue, and they say, if there's a sequel, we'll figure it out later. So Kyle Reese, sent back in time, he discovers he's in an alternate timeline. He runs into the department store just like the first movie. He's being chased by the T-1000, who's also in a cop uniform for no reason. And then Sarah Connor bursts through the door, and it's not the Terminator 1 Sarah Connor, it's badass, tough Sarah Connor, who's played by someone from Game of Thrones, who looks like a little kid and acts horribly, and has nothing on Linda Hamilton. And she says, come with me if you want to live, because reference.
Come with me if you want to live.
Yes, and they had been waiting 17 years for Kyle Reese to show up, yet they're 3 hours late. Well, can we get into Genisys, which is This was another writer's room brainstorm. What's going on in 2017? What's going on in the future? Everyone has iPhones and iPads. Everyone's connected technologically. Instead of Skynet being a military thing,
It's an operating system.
it's an operating system, and it'll control everyone that way, because atomic weapons are so 1980s.
I gotta say, like, you're making fun of it, but that's the only interesting idea in the entire movie.
But what was it going to do?
They say Skynet, or Genisys.
How does an operating system cause a nuclear war?
Genisys is a Trojan horse for Skynet, is what they say. What that means, I don't know, but that's what they say.
But what does it have to do with everyone's iPhones?
They're going to update their operating system to Genisys, and when that happens, Skynet takes over.
Skynet can take over all the fuck it wants. It can control everyone's iPads, and smart TVs, and iPhones, and Samsung Galaxy 6, and your little thing in your car, and your GPS, and your iWatch. Remember Apple Watches? What a hit.
Oh, those are great.
But until they have the power to launch ICBMs all over the planet, there really isn't a judgment day. So I didn't get the connection between your phone and the fucking NORAD launching nukes. Maybe the robots plan to take over the planet without like nuking everything. Maybe they don't want to live in a post-apocalyptic junkyard.
But based on the movie, that's what happens. They do.
Oh yeah, you're right.
It doesn't make any fucking sense.
So, okay. So right after Kyle Reese goes in the time bubble and travels back in time, a man who is not Ultron, but who is not the Borg, who is not the Phalanx, who is not any of these things, puts his hand on John Connor and says, "You're coming with me."
It's Doctor Who. That's who that actor was.
Doctor Who?
Exactly.
I feel like the franchise has been reinvigorated, like this is a renaissance.
There is now a living embodiment of Skynet, Agent Smith. Oh wait, that's the Matrix film. This wasn't ripped off from that at all. He shows up and he grabs John Connor and converts him into something.
Zombie robot John Connor.
Zombie, it's not really... See, watching the trailer, I thought John Connor's been turned into a Terminator. They're gonna like get that technology out of him somehow and they're gonna save him and he's gonna still be a good guy, but it wasn't John Connor. Was John Connor dead? It was just like a robot.
John Connor's dead by the end of the movie.
Yeah.
I guess.
But anyway, instead of making him the most indestructible fucking Terminator, in my opinion, is the liquid metal guy. But this guy, he's made of something where his weakness is magnets.
Well, magnets, how do they work?
I don't know how they work, but they're everywhere.
Yes.
He gets stuck to an MRI machine. An MRI machine almost kills him. So I was expecting them to end up in a junkyard and Arnold to be driving one of those like things
Oh,
that pick up
yeah,
cars.
that would have been great.
That would have been great. Maybe we should have wrote this movie instead of a bunch of soulless corporate hacks. I mean, screenwriter name here.
Well, that's the only, like, whenever every Terminator movie now, it's like the only thing that constitutes like a creative new idea is just having a new type of Terminator. The second movie introduces the liquid metal Terminator. The third movie introduces the robot with liquid metal over it, which seems like a step backwards. And then this movie, magnet robot?
Digital magnet computerized matrix robot.
Yes. Well, when a hologram Doctor Who puts his hand over your mouth, that transforms you into a robot.
So it's kind of like that new movie Pixels.
Oh, the Pac-Man bites you and your hand turns into pixels?
Yeah, I see people were transforming into pixels like an infection. Yeah, they have a time machine.
Oh yeah, they also invented it. They built a time machine in 1984.
Yeah. Fucking Bill and Ted used their time machine much more efficiently.
Well, I guess the idea is that the Terminator, the protector of Sarah Connor, Pops, knows how to build the time machine because a robot that's built for combat is also equipped with that information. It turned out to be very fortunate for our heroes, though.
Yes.
Because in 1984, Terminator built a time machine, and Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese are preparing to get into the time machine, and then they take off their clothes because you have to be nude in the time machine, and we get Kyle Reese looking at a silhouette of Sarah Connor, and it looks like a fucking cartoon of
Looks
her
like
undressing.
Looks like Jessica Rabbit.
It's like a complete silhouette, like a spotlight silhouette, like a cartoon. So yeah, Cyberdyne, Genisys, whatever it is now, is conveniently built a time machine in the same room as a liquid metal vat that is making robot people, but they can't run because the old Arnold says something about they don't have CPUs or something like that. And then he sacrifices himself with robot zombie John Connor. And the time machine causes John Connor to, but that shoots old Terminator out into the vat of liquid metal. So now he's upgraded. He's now liquid metal Arnold. So Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor get in the time machine to travel to 2017. Arnold cannot go with them because his skin has been burnt off, and so he's a robot, so he says, I'll meet you there.
Wait, stop.
Oh my God.
Okay, I've seen plenty of episodes of Star Trek or shows like that.
You watch Star Trek?
I have watched Star Trek.
This is the first I'm hearing of this.
The show that takes place aboard the Star Trek Enterprise with Dr. Spock, where there's these convoluted time travel shows, right?
Okay.
We got to go back here to stop this and that and that, and then there's all sorts of things in it.
Butterfly
effect, causality loops, you kill your grandparents.
Paradoxes.
Whatever. But at the core, it doesn't matter, like, okay, this doesn't make sense this year, this time period, this timeline doesn't converge, blah, blah, blah. As long as there is a heart to the story. Is there a heart to this story?
No.
And that's the main problem.
No, the heart of this movie is, you remember the Terminator?
I guess the point I'm trying to make is they even stole the humanity and the heart from the other movies. They borrowed their plot lines. In this, the only thing I could figure out is that we're supposed to care that young Sarah Connor has this father relationship with Pops and that she loves him. And we're also supposed to think Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor love each other.
Well, they're supposed to fall in love.
They're supposed to fall in love.
And now they know they're supposed to fall in love, so there's
they
this
do.
conflict of, and then they just do with, even though those two actors have zero chemistry and they both kind of suck.
Yeah. You actually felt something in the second one, like the John Connor Terminator connection. Like, it was a little sad, the do 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 do, a little corny, but it was sad.
Yeah.
You liked the Terminator in number 2, and then in number 1, you felt the connection and the romance between Sarah Connor. In this, it's just like, it's like these actors are like blank slates. They're like the digital Terminator. Like, this girl kind of looks like young Linda Hamilton. This guy doesn't look anything like Michael Biehn, but let's just put him in the movie because he has a boring face. He looks like a man.
Yeah.
And they're completely chemistryless and characterless and devoid of personality other than let's put people in a movie.
Yeah. Any emotion you're supposed to draw from it is based solely on your nostalgia for the first 2 movies.
Yes. My point is the main character's only recourse to solve this problem is let's put bombs all over the place.
Yes.
And let's shoot guns at things.
Let's shoot everything. There's so many scenes in this movie that are convoluted, time travel dialogue, attempting to explain what the hell is happening, and then bad guy walks in, they shoot at him and run away, end scene, start that whole sequence over again.
These are our main characters. Their entire knowledge base is we need to set off an explosive, and they have one explosive. Did they go around the whole complex and put them in all the buildings? 'Cause it's like the fucking end of Fight Club, where every building starts falling. Like, when did that happen?
I was numb by that point, so I don't even know.
Speaking of numb, they play the Ramones' "I Want to Be Sedated" throughout the movie.
Which is ironic.
Listen to me, Reese, everything's changed.
No, this is all wrong, all right? John sent me here to save you.
Listen to me, Reese, everything's changed. The 1984 John sent you to, it no longer exists.
John sent me here to save you.
The 1984 John sent you to, it no longer exists.
No, this is all wrong, all right?
From the Terminator that was sent back to kill me, I know.
So Kyle Reese has the Irish parents, not John Connor.
Yes.
Go figure that one out. Maybe Kyle Reese's mother and father are really John Connor's mother and father.
Holy fuck.
And Kyle Reese fucked his own mother to make John Connor, and John Connor fucked Kyle Reese's Irish mother to make Sarah Connor. It's a whole system of time travel inbreeding.
Oh my God, you need to write Terminator Genisys Part 2.
Terminator Genisys space. In space!
Okay, so they travel to 2017. They land in the middle of the interstate where they get promptly hit by a car that's got to be going at least 50 miles per hour, and they get a tiny scratch on their heads, and they go to the hospital.
That's a clue that Kyle Reese is also a Terminator.
Maybe that'll be established more in the follow-up to this film. So they go to the hospital because Arnold didn't get to him in time. They got hit by the car, and then cops showed up and whatever. And then Arnold comes to the hospital because he knows they're there, I guess. And he walks in with a comically large teddy bear so he can conceal his shotgun. And it's just Arnold, like 70-year-old Arnold, lumbering around with this teddy bear.
Yeah, and the way it's shot is not shot for comedy. It's just shot.
Which makes it funny.
Yeah, and they would have, if they're going for nostalgia, they would have been better with the box of long-stemmed roses.
Oh, sure,
that
yeah.
they did because that was classy and creative. And Arnold is really a comically large teddy bear, isn't he?
That's true. That's true.
Arnold Schwarzenegger is likable. He's a likable man.
Arnold is the best part of this movie. Like, it doesn't matter how bad of an actor he is or the fact that he can't pronounce the word cellular, which he says multiple times in one scene. It breaks down on a cellular level. He keeps saying that.
Yeah, one of the weirder aspects of it was, like you said, Arnold saying words like technobabble.
Yeah.
And I never saw Terminators as like Datas, you know, like Brent Spiner Data. Like, I saw them as just mindless killing robots. But
Yeah.
for some reason, he's as smart as Data, and he could build a fucking time machine. Do you remember when Data traveled back to San Francisco in the 1890s and met Mark Twain? Data was also building some sort of device out of technology at the time to communicate to the future. But Data could do that because he's smart. That was in the two-parter episode Time's Arrow.
Because you need some way to have expository dialogue in these movies.
And I guess you need someone to build a fucking time machine.
Yes.
So Arnold can. Arnold can do whatever he
Arnold can build a time machine because movie.
And I'm watching this. There's some kind of scene where John Connor, who's a magnetic digital robot.
Zombie robot John Connor.
He reminds me of those, you know, those toys where they have the magnets and there's like a man's face. Wooly Willy or something.
Wooly Willy,
yeah,
I think,
you put
yeah.
the hair on his head, you give him a mustache. It kind of reminded me of that. Anyway, there's like some amazing scene where he's like, his skin's coming apart and there's all this like detail and he's like, and it's on screen for like 15 seconds and I'm just like,
Yeah.
and I just picture some like computer animator sitting there for like 17,000 hours working on this meticulously, and all these effects, like Terminators are great. All the future tech, everything, this visual effects in this were really good. And just,
But it's at the service of nothing.
you know what they haven't done, which they really took advantage of this in the Tremors films and the Back to the Future films, is that they need to have Terminator in the Wild West. Like, I'm just thinking, like, what if Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor just said, hey, fuck all this. Let's go back to 1890, and we're gonna start a little religion called We Hate Skynet, and we're gonna change the whole future. You know,
That's
and then,
true. Yeah, start way back and change everything from the
just
ground
go
up.
Stop the invention of computers altogether.
Yeah.
It would give an opportunity for them to sit in a Wild West bar and
With the Terminator.
and Arnold to walk through the door. He could be bad Terminator this time.
He should be bad Terminator.
And he walks through the, and he's got like the full-on like cowboy garb. I told you I'd be back, or he'd say, I'm here. It's the first
the
time.
first time.
Yeah, and then he would be like, and like cowboys would be like, oh, go get here, leave me interrupted, I'll poke again. Oh, my hand.
Yeah, well, I would take just about anything other than someone gets sent back in time, make sure that Skynet happens, then someone else gets sent back in time, stop Skynet from happening. And John Connor and Sarah Connor protect fate, no fate, and what we make.
Now let's talk about our Wild West Terminator idea.
Okay.
John Connor, these two actors.
Can we have the Terminator like try to get on a horse to ride it, and once he jumps onto the horse, it just goes.
Yes, it breaks the horse's back
Yes.
immediately. Oh my God, this is great. Let's get in the writer's room. But you could really have fun with a lot of the technology of the day. Like they would sentence Terminator to like a public hanging. and then they'd drop the gallows, and he would just break the thing that holds, and he would just land on his feet. Gee willikers.
Well, that's even in this movie, in Terminator Genisys, like, because Arnold can't travel into the future with them because his robot arm is exposed. So he waits, like, whatever it is, 30 years, 40 years? And there's, like, some offhand dialogue about how he worked in construction. Like, I want to see that movie about what he was doing that whole time. I would rather watch that. Yeah. Like, Terminator just trying to, like, kill time for 30 years.
Now they've jumped the shark, pardon the expression, because now they've introduced the fact that everyone has a time machine and people have time machined all over the place.
Well, that's the thing too, is they travel to 2017 and at the Skynet headquarters, they're also building a time machine, conveniently.
Yeah, is that supposed to be the one in the future?
Maybe, but like they say, oh, it's not gonna be ready for several years, but then they just use it immediately anyway.
I guess, yeah, why not build a time machine? There's no, like, they're making liquid metal people, or?
In the same room as the time machine, conveniently.
Yeah, and then they're also making an app. The app seems to be the most important thing for everybody.
Well, it's not just an app, it's an operating system.
Okay.
It's
We've
a pretty
had 1
big
billion
deal.
downloads, but we're also building a time machine and liquid people. But our app, let's talk about our app. So yeah, he's giving them, I guess, but like, he's starting up Skynet again. So why have the time machine? Why is he building one?
Because he can. Because it's convenient. Because movie. Because that's how they need to end the movie, is with another time machine. So that just happens.
Yeah. Wow, like, movies have really gotten bad, haven't they?
If you like the Terminator films,
Run!
I'll be back.
you're gonna love this movie.
This movie is a shiny object you dangle in front of a cat.
Yeah.
It's very nice looking. It's very slick. The effects are great. The action's great, but it's nothing but a shiny object you dangle in front of a cat. So all you cats out there, get out your catnip. My recommendation is, if you're a cat, you'll love this film. Do you think Arnold took Sarah Connor's virginity?
Yes.
Like, because he was protecting her since age 9. I don't think he let her go on dates.
That's exactly what happened.
Are you fully functional? I am fully functional. That's a reference to Star Trek Next Generation.
Does Data have sex on Star Trek?
Oh, yeah.
That's a little weird.
He never gets rapey, but he does have sex. He has sex.
Well, I'm glad he doesn't get rapey. So they killed John Connor, who was at
Are we still talking about Terminator Genisys in space?
They killed John Connor, who...
We talked about this movie more than the writers did.
I think so, yeah.
I can say this, though. It is better than Terminator 3. It doesn't feel like a cheap, like, direct-to-video B movie. That's the only
It's not a complete recreation of the Terminator 2.
Yeah.
Do you remember that part when they get arrested and then the theme to Cops, the TV show, plays? In 2015, there's a movie where they play the theme song to Cops.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they travel through time and come for you? But like, direction-wise, there is no, like, real vision there. It just, everything looks pretty bland. And here, we film this now, we film that now, we say these lines.
Yeah.
They tried to do an emotional scene where they silhouetted Jessica Rabbit. And like you said,
She's undressing, and it's like a complete silhouette in spotlight.
it reminded me of like a Naked Gun movie.
Yeah.
I wanted her to turn and there'd be a big penis. And he goes,
So, Mike, would you recommend Terminator, Rise of the Genisys?
Terminator, no. If you're, this is a little specialized audience thing. If you're a fan of Terminators and Terminator lore, you'll get a kick out of this movie. It's like a fan film. It's like a big budget fan film. Big budget Terminator fan film. Like I said, it's like Batman fighting the Predator with very little substance. So if you like that sort of thing, I'm gonna go with like a 50-50 shot here. Jay?
Nope.
I'll be back.
What?
So now that we've watched Terminator Genisys, can we finally watch Mom, Can I Keep Her?
It's got to be better, right?
That was the alternate title to Terminator Genisys, is Mom, Can I Keep Him?
Oh, sure.
Sarah Connor referring to...
The little
to the
9-year-old
run.
Sarah Connor. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, that would also be a great Terminator movie, the prequel.
Oh, sure.
You know, her going to middle school and Arnold pretending to be a student sitting next to her.
Oh, that'd be
With a little
great.
sideways hat on and
Yeah.
everything. I'm a very old-looking 9-year-old boy.
Yeah, I'd buy that.
He would play dodgeball and he'd be like, and would like embed a kid's head in the wall.
Sure.
You know, like all sorts of crazy stuff. Like that's that and the Wild West. Whoa, we made it. Come with me if you want to live. I said, come with me if you want to live.